Voting continues in the Egyptian House of Representatives elections. Egypt dispatches its 69th aid convoy from Rafah to Gaza via the Kerem Abu Salem border crossing. And the Kremlin announces Russia's intention to end the conflict with Ukraine. Polling stations opened across Egypt at 9 a.m. local time, launching a weeks-long process to fill the 568 of the 596 seats in the lower house of parliament. The remaining 28 members will be appointed directly by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Egyptians abroad voted over the weekend, while domestic polling will be staggered across provinces, with Alexandria voting through Tuesday and Cairo set to cast ballots on November 24th. Final results are due by December 25th. Egypt opens the first day of domestic voting after 2 smooth days for Egyptians abroad. Polls are welcoming voters nationwide with clear procedures, wide hours and full services in place.
Polling stations open nationwide in Egypt with a clear message to citizens. Voting is accessible, organized, and ready to serve every voter. Hours run from 9 in the morning to 9 at night, giving families, first-time voters, and seniors ample time to participate. Staff at schools and civic centers are guiding queues. Signage marks entrances and corridors, and information desks help people find assigned committees quickly. Election officials say logistics are fully in place for this phase, with judicial supervision across stations and trained teams supporting the process. Voters can confirm locations ahead of time, while assistants provide step-by-step guidance inside. A hotline is available for inquiries, and local operations rooms coordinate responses to keep the day efficient. Public services are positioned to support turnout. Security deployments focus on safe access and steady traffic. The health sector has ambulances and emergency teams ready, with mobile units near high-density areas. Many schools offer shaded waiting zones and priority lines for seniors to keep movement steady and comfortable. Inclusion is a priority. Ramps and accessible entrances are available at numerous locations, and volunteers assist voters with disabilities. Sign language support and on-call technical help ensure every eligible citizen can cast a ballot with dignity. By the numbers, this phase spans multiple governorates, with thousands of polling stations under one standard of fast entry, clear instructions, and transparent procedures. Candidate lists and individual races are posted for reference, and committees remind voters to bring national ID and follow the simple sequence in the booth. Momentum from abroad carries into the home phase. Turnout began steadily in the morning and expected to rise through the afternoon and evening. As commuters head to neighborhood stations, the atmosphere is calm, organization is tight, and the message is participation. As the day progresses, officials emphasize the basics: respect the queue, have ID ready, and follow staff directions for a quick experience. The focus remains on service to the voter, confidence in the process, and a positive civic moment shared across Egypt.
Egypt's Ministry of Interior has announced the full implementation of a nationwide security plan approved by Minister Mahmoud Tawfiq to safeguard the 2025 parliamentary elections and ensure the safety of voters. Security forces have been deployed across polling stations and access routes, supported by mobile units, rapid response teams, and female officers to handle emergencies. The plan also covers strategic sites, public spaces, and major transport routes, with traffic patrols and monitoring systems in place to maintain order and assist the elderly and persons with disabilities in the voting process. All security sectors are operating with full preparedness, neutrality, and discipline to guarantee that citizens can cast their votes freely and securely. Egyptians flocked to the polling stations across 14 governorates to cast their votes in the first phase of the 2025 parliamentary elections in what officials described as a strong show of national awareness and civic responsibility. Voters of all ages queued early in the morning, many waving flags and expressing pride in taking part in shaping the country's future. Members of both the House of Representatives and the Senate hailed the high turnout, saying it underscores Egyptian commitment to the constitutional right and their confidence in the democratic process. Lawmakers stressed that the participation in the election is both a right and a national duty, reflecting citizens' desire to preserve stability and support the development efforts underway. Polling stations in Sheikh Zayed City witnessed a strong turnout on the first day of voting for the 2025 House of Representatives elections, with large crowds flocking to cast their votes. Notably, Egyptians who are younger in the generation, those born in the 2000s, made a visible impact at the polls, underscoring their belief that the participation is key to shaping the nation's future. Young voters, many between the ages of 20 and 25, arrived early in the morning and continued to vote throughout the day, reflecting a spirit of responsibility, patriotism, and determination to drive positive change. Observers described this participation as a powerful sign of generational engagement and a commitment to Egypt's progress. For more analysis, we now move to Hala Al-Hamalawi in our newsroom. To you, Hala.
Thank you so much, Rihem. For further analysis, we're joined from Cairo by the international relations expert, Mr. Ahmed Al-Anani. Welcome to Q News. Mr. Ahmed, what does the robust turnout among youth, women, and citizens with disabilities indicate about the political engagement of Egyptians today?
Let me say good evening to you and to everyone who's watching. Of course, these elections are one of the most important ones in the history of Egypt. We saw it today. The Egyptians were waiting for it, and it is concerned with the constitution and the parliament. And so on the legislative level, now everyone and those who represent the citizens, they want them to really care about the citizens and everything that they call for, even monitoring the government when it comes to legislations and everything that has to do with the rules. And I also think that what we saw today is a very positive engagement. We're talking about the first day only, and the turnout percentage is very good. And so with the second day, I think that the turnout will be even higher, especially that the citizens either in these kind of elections or in other kinds, they turnout is always higher on the second day. And so yes, we are waiting for large crowds tomorrow, and we saw crowds today in Upper Egypt and Gaza and so on. And so yes, even the control operations room, they have released the large number of people who have gone to cast their votes.
Sir, in your opinion, how can the next parliament strengthen Egypt's legislative framework to support long-term domestic stability and governance?
Actually, the elections, the current elections or the upcoming parliament, we are waiting for important things, and they have to do with the economic track, especially Egypt's policy since President El-Sisi took over is building and founding a democratic government, and also a country where can take us to the to be one of the largest countries of the world. We are trying to build the infrastructure. Actually, we didn't do this before, and so Egypt has been working on this under the patronage of President El-Sisi, and we have seen lots of national projects that are great, and this actually goes under the umbrella of an investment, and so these projects need legislations. To have a foreign investor, they need somewhere to invest, in a parliament that can issue legislations that can balance between the citizens' benefit and the investors' benefit. And so we need a parliament that will have lots of rules and will organize lots of things, as I said, when it comes to investment and on the economic level. And then also we need lots of rules and legislations that benefit the citizens when it comes to the economic level and to the level of their living. We know we are working toward a project called An Honorable Life, and so all of these projects and initiatives that Egypt is doing, they need legislations where these citizens can actually benefit from on so many levels, politically and on the economic track as well. Of course, yeah, we had a parliament before that had rules and legislations, but they weren't really thought through.
Sir, what message does the participation of Egyptians abroad send about national unity and diaspora engagement in Egypt's political life?
We saw yesterday and the day before yesterday, we saw positive engagement and turnout inside the consulate and the embassies, and this shows that the Egyptians are now very aware and they know their domestic rights, and even when they are outside Egypt, they go and they vote to choose who will represent them in the parliament. And so Egypt is living in one of its most prosperous eras, and yeah, this is talking when we compare it to before. As I said, there was a huge and high turnout, and we needed this actually because the Egyptians abroad know that they still have rights that the constitution gives them, and yeah, they want to choose who will represent them in the parliament, who will call for their rights. And so I think this was a very positive engagement, and we haven't seen anything like this before. It is unprecedented, and as I said, we saw people in consulates and embassies that have gone to vote in European countries and in the Gulf countries even, and this makes us feel very positive and hopeful that there are such crowds overseas.
Mm-hmm. Sir, could the results of this parliamentary phase have any implications for Egypt's foreign policy priorities or international agreements?
Of course, even in the political science, internal stability will reflect on the region. And so here we are talking about political reforms and party reforms. We're talking about parliament where women and youth are represented, and let's look in 2020, even the names are different from 2020. And so yes, there is democracy now what the citizens want, they are going to get, and they are choosing who to represent them through those ballot box. And yeah, they need to put into consideration the benefits of the citizens. And so when we have a democratic file here, this will actually reflect on Egypt's foreign policy, and it will have a huge and positive reflection. And yeah, this is what we want. And as we know, our foreign policy is very balanced, and they really put into consideration their neighbors and the security and stability around them. As we know here, the policy, our foreign policy is historic, and they are very aware of what we need and what they need to do to get there. And we saw what happened with Dr. Khaled Al-Anaini and with the UNESCO. Everyone is now praising Egypt's foreign policy.
Well, that was Mr. Ahmed Al-Anaini joining us from Cairo. He is the international relations expert. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on Q News. Now we go back again to Riham Morsi in our studio. To you, Riham.
Thank you so much, Heather, for that in-depth interview there. And now we move on to the latest developments in Gaza.
And then, of course, we have the host tonight. And I just want to thank you very much. It was a reason we chose Egypt, because you were very helpful and very, very helpful. Everybody wanted to have this, but we really thought it was appropriate. And you are a great leader. And he's a fantastic man and a fantastic general, by the way. But he's a great, great president. And I want to thank Egypt and all of your representatives for treating us all so well. Thank you very much.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met U.S. Envoy Kushner and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff in the occupied Jerusalem. Kushner, who arrived in Israel Sunday, helped craft and promote President Trump's 20-point peace deal for Gaza. The visit comes as Washington pushes to ensure the U.S. brokered ceasefire in Gaza remains in effect. The Palestinian Health Ministry has said that it has received 15 more bodies from Israel, bringing the total to 315 handed over under the ceasefire agreement. So far, only 92 of the returned bodies have been identified. The ministry reported that 38 bodies were transferred and buried Monday in the cemetery for the unknown. Egypt has dispatched the 69th Aid Convoy under the Zaid al Provision of Honor from Egypt to Gaza initiative from Rafah to Gaza via the Khelm Abu Said border crossing. The convoy carries 7,300 tons of urgent humanitarian aid. The shipment also included 4,000 tons of food baskets and flour, 2,300 tons of medical and relief supplies, and 1,200 tons of fuel. Since July 27th's inception, the Egyptian initiative has delivered diverse aid, including baby formula, medicine, and personal care items. Coordinated at the Egyptian side of the Rafah border crossing, the operation relies on 35,000 volunteers and has facilitated the transfer of over 500,000 tons of assistance to Gaza. The UN Relief and Works Agency UNRWA is struggling to deliver humanitarian supplies to Gaza due to Israeli restrictions. John White, UNRWA's Senior Deputy Director for Gaza Operations, told the Journal that about 5,000 agency-owned trucks are currently being blocked from entering the enclave. Israel requires the agency to hand over supplies to other relief organizations and remove UNRWA branding before permitting entry. White described the process as causing a lot of hassle. Israel's parliament banned UNRWA last year, with the law taking effect in January. Al-Khair Hospital in Khan Yunis has resumed operations after being forced to close following Israeli attacks in February 2024. The WHO helped restore water, sanitation, power, and structural systems and supplied essential medical equipment and medicine. A new 20-bed nutrition stabilization center has also opened, bringing Gaza's total to 8 centers, with 90 beds for children with severe malnutrition. Palestinians in Qnews, Gaza, said that soaring prices and an uncertain future continues to affect daily life even after a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. Humanitarian agencies said aid is still falling short, despite Israel's pledge to allow an average of 600 trucks of supplies into Gaza daily. Israel accuses Hamas of diverting aid they claim the group denies, leaving residents struggling amid widespread destruction and food insecurity. The Israeli Knesset is holding a vote on a contentious bill that would permit the death penalty for Palestinian prisoners accused of killing Israelis. The legislation, cleared by the Security Committee on November 3rd, is now before the full parliament for its first reading. Rights groups and international observers have widely condemned the move. Far-right National Security Minister Marvin Gavir has pressured the government, warning that his party, Otzama Yehudit, would block other bills unless the measure passes. The bill reflects coalition agreements between Prime Minister Netanyahu's Likud party and Ben Gvir's faction, which are crucial for maintaining the government's slim majority.
רם בן ברק, נגד. יש עוד שלי תלמירון.
Israeli occupation forces have launched a 3-day military exercise across the occupied West Bank involving ground troops, air units and special forces. The army said that the drills are designed to test operational readiness for potential escalation scenarios and include drones, mock enemy forces and active troops, as well as aircraft movements. Residents have been warned of an increased military presence over the coming days. Palestinians expressed concern over the exercise, which comes amid the ongoing tensions in the territory. Last year, the International Court of Justice ruled that Israel's continued presence in the occupied West Bank is unlawful and should end as rapidly as possible. The Sudanese army announced that it will continue the momentum of its operations until it reaches Sudanese citizens in Darfur and other regions. The army affirmed that its operations represent a response to the will of the Sudanese people and its military institutions and all its factions, emphasizing its ability to thwart plots through determination and institutional unity. The Sudanese army also stressed that the path to peace lies in confronting threats and restoring security for all citizens. Media reports stated that the Sudanese government has decided to form specialized field committees to monitor and coordinate services for displaced persons in Sudan's West Kordofan state. The reports added that it was decided to evacuate all residents of the city of Bab Nusa in West Kordofan to safe areas amid a large wave of displacement, noting that 57,000 displaced people from Darfur have arrived in Al-Daba, northern Sudan. The Kremlin has said that it wants the Ukraine war to end quickly, but blames stalled peace efforts on Ukraine. Spokesman Dmitry Peskov responded to U.S. President Donald Trump's recent remarks that the conflict could end in that not-so-distant future, saying Russia would prefer a diplomatic solution, but the situation is currently paused not through their fault. Peskov said the war could end once Russia achieves its goals and accused European-backed Kyiv of relying on military means. No direct talks between Russia and Ukraine have occurred since July 23rd, and Ukraine rejects Moscow's conditions for a summit. The Kremlin has said that Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov remains active in his role and urged the public to ignore Western media speculations that he has fallen out of favor with President Vladimir Putin. Lavrov, 75, missed a recent high-profile Kremlin meeting and will not attend the upcoming G20 summit in South Africa, a role he has traditionally held, fueling rumors about his standing. Kremlin officials reiterated on Friday that Lavrov continues to serve fully as Russia's top diplomat, dismissing reports of his absence from a planned summit with U.S. President Donald Trump, indicating a decline in influence. U.S. President Donald Trump has said that the government shutdown, now the longest in U.S. history at 40 days, is very close to ending. He emphasized he would not approve funds for what he called prisoners or undocumented migrants, adding that the Democrats understand his stance. Trump's remarks came amid ongoing disruptions of tough federal services and as lawmakers prepare to vote on a funding bill that would keep the government running through January 2026. The U.S. Senate has advanced a measure to end the 40-day federal government shutdown, approving a procedural vote that clears the way for funding through January 30th and further talks on Affordable Care Act subsidies. The 60-40 vote overcame a filibuster, allowing an amended House-passed bill, including 3 full-year appropriations, to move forward. The legislation still requires House approval before reaching President Donald Trump for signature. As part of the deal, Republicans agreed to a December vote on extending ACA subsidies, a key Democratic priority, to aid low-income Americans with private health insurance costs. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin, but before we wrap up, here's a quick recap of today's headline-making stories. Voting continues in the Egyptian House of Representatives elections. Egypt dispatches its 69th aid convoy from Rafah to Gaza via Kharm Abu Said and border crossing. And the Kremlin announces Russia's intention to end the conflict with Ukraine. As we end this hour, polling operations remain active across 14 governorates, with steady to strong turnout reported at major stations and no formal complaints logged up until now. The NEA confirms continuous oversight through closing time and further updates later today. For more stories and updates, follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok using the handle @QNewsEGY to stay informed. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more updates on Q News.